All right. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Whereabouts are you in Nigeria?
Right now, Abuja.
Okay. That's where you're based?
Oh, yes, that's where I live with my
Good,
husband.
good. Well, thank you for coming. It's interesting. Like I told you, when I saw your profile, I was intrigued, you know, because I I I never uh I never thought about a purpose driven career, until some years ago, you know. Now I think more about it than previously. All right. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts and find out what you do. And yeah. All right. So
Okay.
let's do this. Please introduce yourself to my audience and tell us what you do.
Okay. Hi guys. My name is Mrs. Tracy Okoro Isaac. I am first communications consultant. Then I'm also a policy and innovation advisor. I also do a bit of government relations. I'm also the co-founder of an Edtech startup, Business Academy Africa, that is trying to bridge the gap, sort of create accessible education and learning for everyone. But this is for now, we're fully business and digital skills academy. This is because currently the skills that are in demand are not the skills that we're learning in our traditional schools. And then traditional schools are, harder, right? From the time that is spent, going through the schools, the how expensive it is, and also because it's not very flexible. It's just thoroughly hard, and
Mm,
a lot of people can't access the traditional form of learning. So the
okay.
startup is sort of revolutionizing education as we know it.
Okay. So Tracy, we'll talk about that because I penned that down to talk about it. So now,
Okay.
tell me, uh, explain to us what policy advisory and solution sustainability mean.
Hmm. Well, policy advisory simply means advising either government or government stakeholders on the
Mm,
right policies and regulations and legislations to create, right, to be able to drive economic development in all sectors of
okay.
a nation, right? But when you're trying to include innovation, right? So innovative solutions to policy advisory means how do you think outside the box towards bringing about healthy, inclusive, and sustainable policies, right, that actually create the impact that you're looking for. So not just economic development in numbers, but economic development in impact, stories, real life stories of how the lives of people have been changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Wow. So like I mentioned earlier, I was attracted to your profile on LinkedIn because of the faith-driven entrepreneur uh, I saw on your profile. Now, I'm I'm very interested to know what you do in that space because, like I said, I wasn't one to think about building a career uh, driven by purpose before a few years ago. But now I have come to realize that is maybe the most fulfilling way to build a career, you know. So what do you do in this space?
So being a faith-driven entrepreneur means that you understand the sole aim of purpose and fulfilling purpose. When you're explaining purpose, spiritually, it tends to take on a lot of, hits or a lot
Mm,
of angles. But this is basically how I picture it, that the creator of a thing decides that there's a purpose for it before it's being created, right?
okay.
So, for example, the creator of a microphone says, I want to be able to project my voice or to amplify my voice. And so he creates a microphone. So
Okay.
the microphone can come in and now decide, you know what, I'd like to be a bucket. I decide to just be a bucket. I decide to start to hold water. But you see, when the microphone starts to do that, even through to purpose. And so that's why being a faith-driven entrepreneur for me is understanding that the creator put us here for a reason. And then I am coming at the intersection between purpose, right? And driving economic prosperity from entrepreneurship. How do I bring solutions to people, right? Solutions that are sustainable. And sustainability means that being able to cater for now and tomorrow. And catering for now and tomorrow is basically enterprising, right?
Mm,
So how do with the knowledge of how that my creator put me in here to be a solution provider, knowing that entrepreneurs are not just businessmen and women, but they're businessmen and women who bring solutions to
solution,
problems. And in
yes.
turn, yes. So as a person in faith, you are a solution provider. So you're not just an entrepreneur, you are living the real message of being a solution provider. So whether or
Okay.
not you are making profit or you're getting revenue from it, you're just leveraging on all the resources and networks, right? That you would have as an entrepreneur, but then taking on that foundation of where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So this isn't a conversation of what faith do you believe in. It just means that understanding the faith foundation that
Mm,
you have been called to more than just being profitable.
okay. Well, I'm not a a person of faith. Okay, I'm not religious. I once was, but now no. But then, like I said, I believe that we all can find a purpose in our lives. Okay, now unlike you, who believe that is God-given purpose, I believe that every one of us can find our own purpose, uh, uh, determined by our environment and the gifts we all have. Okay, we have different gifts, so using your gifts and what your environment demand, you can find you can fashion a purpose for you. And doing being an entrepreneur, a solution provider in your environment, uh, when you use your gifts and find a purpose to deliver solution in your environment, it's very rewarding because you will see the fruits of your labor. And yeah, that's my own take on that. But I believe that more of us can use this strategy to find a fulfilling career that will be a more lasting career. Yeah. So how what do you do? Uh, what have you done? Okay, to help people you work with to follow that strategy.
Thank you, Kene, and I understand your perspective, but
Yeah.
like I said, nothing is made without the purpose first being, thought of, right?
Okay. Yeah. I
So
get it. Yeah.
a pen becomes a pen and then the pen realizes that it's a pen, right? So imagine the pen saying, oh, I mean, I look like a pen, but I don't think that I was meant to write. I'd like to wait for, I like to wait for my surroundings to know whether I'm supposed to be a door stopper. Like I said, a thing might serve other purposes,
Mm,
right? But the thing with serving in line with what you've been called for is that
yeah.
in my experience, I found out that there's provision when you're in purpose.
Okay.
There's protection when you're in purpose
Okay.
because you have been fashioned in the likeness of something, or you've been fashioned to do something, and so you've been provided what you require to be able to do that. And now, when I hire, one of the first things I ask, I don't care about what your faith is that do you believe that you come here to fulfill some sort of purpose? Do you believe that there's a big picture, right? That there are some people who if you do not walk according to purpose may never get their uhuru, may never get their solution, may never
Mm,
get the solution to their answered prayer, or may never get their answers to their prayers
yeah.
because you didn't wake up to purpose, right? And
Mm,
so the reason, at the end of the day, when I also now work with other entrepreneurs, I want them to see the solution they're solving as global, right?
yeah.
Yes, it's first local, but it's global. It means that there is a world out there that you're supposed to serve. And that when you understand that there is a world you're supposed to serve, then you can build a product just thinking small, right? You can't say, even though you can decide that, oh, there is a niche market that you want to sell, you
Yes.
have to look beyond the niche market to say, I am solving a divine problem, a problem that only me at this time have been gifted to be able to solve it, a
Yeah.
problem that I only bring these unique uh, solution to. Like the solution that I'm bringing is unique to me. If another person were to try to bring a solution, yes, they might bring, but it might not be unique. For
Mm,
example, the guy who brought out the letter writing for communication, he did well at his time, but the guy who brought out email did better, right? The guy who's brought out a lot of is doing better. But so these are the unique ways that people have been called to purpose, right?
mm,
And so when I'm working with entrepreneurs, I'm constantly trying to root them in the foundation that they're not just, solving a problem, just for profitability. They've been called to change lives through the unique solution or the unique perspective they bring to that problem statement that they're solving. And so at the end of the day, a Thrive Agri is not just helping provide access to farmers, right? Or helping to boost food security in Africa. They are, or rather, they are providing sources of livelihood for
yeah.
farmers who would have otherwise, died of hunger or
Mm,
something. They're helping farmers be able to put their children through school because they're able to sell and the quality of life is better,
yeah.
right? So this is, if you sort of break it down to the tiniest variable, you see how 1% solution here in Nigeria is affecting lives all the way in Australia. And that's
Okay.
what purpose is, touching
Okay.
lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see. I don't disagree with you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just purpose is aligned with the needs of a community. Okay. So uh, the person who discovered letter writing uh, discovered that letter writing solution as something that people of his time needed. In our time, we use the computers. So the person who who uh, who made the email also did something that was needed in his time. So it's the purpose anybody has at a time is determined by what the people need at that time. So it's we are in line. The only difference is that yours is God-given purpose. Mine is I believe that every one of us can find a purpose by ourselves using the skills we have and the needs of our community. So yeah. Anyway, so yes, education is a big deal for me. It's a big passion of mine, and technology is a tool that we all use. I use everything I do is done on the computer, on my phone. I read books. I don't actually read books. I listen to books. I just finished a book just before we got on this podcast. So I do everything with technology. All right. So education in our time is it's something we all need, and our countries in Africa we have a big deficit in that space. Okay, and before we can progress, we need to narrow down the deficit. Okay, so as the co-founder of a leading uh, tech edtech startup, how are the members of our community, okay, our society, catching up with the education on using technology?
So, I mean, I'd like to say that, technology has literally like revolutionized the way we learn and
Mm,
educate ourselves. I mean, the widespread use of technology has made learning more accessible, flexible, personalized, and it is allowing individuals to learn at their own pace and also according to their learning styles. And there's also in recent years been a significant shift towards digital learning with
okay.
an increasing number of educational institutions, and individuals adopting edtech tools. But you see, where the conversation is still in how accessible, right, these platforms and tools are. With the COVID-19 pandemic, right, it forced a lot of institutions and schools to move to remote learning.
Yeah.
But the culture, the traditional culture of learning has not necessarily changed. The mindset of learning has not necessarily changed. So while, yeah, schools are building e-learning portals and everything, but they're not moving their talents, right? They're not moving their academy or their teaching staff towards being prepared for the world of remote, right? And I don't know if I told you, I'm also leading, for example, we have something called the Nigeria Startup Act, right? That
Okay. Yeah.
I'm leading the state adoption program on that. And one of the things that I have sort of learned in doing that work is the fact that the mentality, something we call schema bias, right? The mentality of human beings trying to, come together. There is the intersection between displacement and disruption.
Yeah.
So this is a place where founders like us have now come to create, an edtech learning platform that uses all this technology to be able to revolutionize the learning and all that. But we're not working hand in hand with the stakeholders that are supposed to do like the handoff,
Yeah.
right? And because we're not working with them, what happens is that by the time I launch my academy, uh, I don't. There are not a lot of teachers. The teachers, a lot of people come to my academy and now don't go to schools, and so teachers will lose their jobs because
Mm,
the schools will no longer be able to cater to the amount of teachers that they have because nobody's coming to school.
yeah.
But supposing I worked hand in hand with the stakeholders and we were able to onboard, right? Onboard these teachers and teach them how they can be on the platform, how they can learn. What will happen is Okay, so that is where that disruption, and that's where that intersection is where we still have a problem in the education sector,
Yeah.
right? There's still not that handshake, right? Between the old and the new, because the new is here, which is technology, right?
Yeah.
Is here. And more people are going to shift towards there. But how do we make sure that there's no redundancy, that we're not causing more problems because while we're trying to do good? It is what my academy is doing. We're onboarding, lecturers and teachers, because these people have the learning, they have the experience, right? We just want to convert that into an accessible platform where even the lecturers can teach at their own time, right? Can have students do homeworks at their own time and whatever, and they use some of that time to do some personal work, some personal, much needed personal work that they can.
Yeah.
And so that's where we had that problem. We still have that disconnect, right? So I was just saying that where we have that problem in the educational sector is that disconnect, right? That handshake between the old and the new.
Yeah.
And until we do it, we'll still have the disruptions, but we'll still be left with the displacements.
Mm, mm, mm. So, apart from the handshake, I see infrastructure as a problem. Now, I see, because of the poverty level in our society. At this time, I would assume that only upper middle class Nigerians can use platforms like yours. Okay, they're the ones that have the funds to buy unlimited data packages. Okay, for their kids or for themselves. So we, I wouldn't assume at this time we have more than 10 to 20% of our population assessing this kind of solutions.
Oh yes, you're correct, Kenya. You're actually correct.
Mm.
But you see, that's why I'm working on the policy side, right?
Okay.
So now, with the Nigerian Startup Act, what the government is now going to be mandated to do is to sort of give priority to certain areas, and one of such areas is infrastructure. But
Yeah.
then again, with proper legislation and great policies, we attract investment, right? And attracting investment means that people can come in and put in this infrastructure that we're looking for,
Yeah.
and sort of also make revenue from it. And with more internet penetration into rural areas, right?
Yeah.
With internet penetration, with more infrastructure like power, and because there's more investment and more startups are building and solving problems, the quality of life across will increase,
Yeah.
right? And then more people can be able to access, more people can access some of these learning portals. But as for the
Yeah.
rural areas, right, there's always going to be, products that will sort of be created for them. But
Yeah.
then also, like I said, the handshake. Because if we're creating products, right, that probably have to work with solar and things like that because of access to power, the internet connectivity has to come from the government. So the government has to, make right of way zero naira, right? So a
Yeah.
lot more people can come in there, and internet will be at least or nothing or very little or less than free, right?
Mm.
Something like it, so that people can have this access. In fact, quality education up to a certain age should be free, even
Yeah.
online, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these are some of the things that we are going to be working on. But like I said, until this handshake happens, right?
Yeah.
A lot of things can happen only through the private sector. It also has to happen with that, partnership.
That's true. That's true. Uh, See, for me, the biggest issue, the biggest challenge we have in Nigeria, in particular, is power. Okay, uh, with increase in the uh, power resource, many sectors of our society, people like you, entrepreneurs, can run and provide solutions for people. Okay, until that particular infrastructure of energy is fixed, many things cannot be done. Okay, now.
Hey, I'm sorry to disagree with you
Okay.
on that.
Okay. Oh, very
I
good.
think that the greatest problem we have is our people, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
People knowing what to do and not doing it. I'll tell you about 3 communities in Niger State, right? I'm not going to mention, but these 3 communities decided, you know what? We're going to take this issue in our hands and provide power to ourselves.
Okay.
And so they went in partnership with a sustainable energy company, gave them land, and told them, in exchange, have a partnership. 30% of revenue from these deals, you'd use it to build schools, hospital, and for us, 70% you can keep. And they gave them land, and so this energy company took that land and mounted solar panels, like massive landmass of solar panels, and then connected it and turned it into a grid. And they started to sell light at very, 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 very low cost for the communities. And I think this is the 3rd year of that pilot program. The community has not done anything. Now see how people took it into their hands to solve that problem, Ekene. Imagine, right, if a lot more people decided, you know what, let's show the government what's possible, right? And solve this. A lot of people, I know that, like I said earlier, there needs to be a handshake. But that handshake doesn't have to be led by the government. People
Agreed.
can also lead these handshakes because people are the ones in government, right? So if people talk to people, like I would normally tell some of my colleagues and say, bad things happen when people don't talk to people, right? So when people talk to people and get people to act right by people, right? Then a lot of work will be done.
See, Tracy, can you see me smiling?
I like that. Yeah.
Do you know why I'm smiling? Because you are quoting my own philosophy to me.
I like. Okay. So we're on the same page.
I see. I totally agree what you just said, but the still the power infrastructure is not there. Okay, you just told me it's possible if people decide, and I agree absolutely. Now, I have brought this up before with someone, and one of the things that person told me, I don't know how true it is that the law in our country doesn't allow states on their own to
generate power.
Power, yes. That if you generate power, you must feed it into the national grid.
No, but not with solar, right? Not with all other sources of power, right? Not at the moment, right now. There's no law that states that, right? So I'm going to go and get an inverter. I don't need to talk to any state government that, I'm going to buy an inverter, right? I'm going to buy a solar panel. I don't need to tell anybody anything, right? And I don't think we should do that because those things are renewable energy, right? That you can get from anywhere. I don't think I need to tell government that I want to use sun to do something, right? But in this, for example, like the Nigeria Startup Act, this was a partnership between the government and private sector people, right? And different people in the technology and business ecosystem coming together. So let me tell you what that took. That took someone in business going to see someone in the office, right? And say, we need this done, talk to it. And the person says, oh, I'm not doing it. And then the person goes and calls someone else and say, who do you know here? And they go, and they go, and they go till we got our result. If we want the issue of power solved, someone has to talk to someone. right?
Okay.
And the only way that can happen is if that someone who they're talking to someone has understood their purpose, that I'm going there to turn something that's more of like a curse on a country for years, that we don't have power. It is that a group of people decide that we're not going to be content with mediocrity. We're not going to be content with just hand me downs. We're not going to be content with just anything. That we're going to strive for excellence and decide that, Nigeria has got to have power, and give ourselves a timeline and go at it until it is done. Like I
I agree.
say,
See,
the
I agree.
government and every other stakeholder surrounding this whole power issue are still people. And
Okay.
if
Now,
people
now,
don't talk
now,
to
now the
people,
other
something
other
happens.
issue, the other challenge when it comes to power is that there is a entrenched what's it called now? That people who has been making loads of money, okay, have been making loads of money selling diesel, selling petrol, selling generator, okay, and is that personal, selfish, personal interest not to let these things work. See, I tell my my younger guests that I don't believe that anybody in Nigeria who was born in the 80s, okay, has ever lived in Nigeria with 24 hours of power. Okay. I was lucky. I wasn't born, I was born before the 1980s. So we used to have 24 hours of power. Okay. But from the 80s, it was gone. Okay. Now, what we're talking about is that once we are able to solve the problem of power, a lot of other things will be just like that, just happen. See, our country has immense, immense, what's it called now?
Potentials, right?
Abilities,
And
okay,
capacities, right?
capacity to do wonderful things.
Ekene, the minister of power, right, has children. I want you to understand that we need to hold ourselves by higher standards, right?
Yes,
All these people who are not doing what they need to do, they have family members, right? But you see, like I said to you, when people don't talk to people, things spoil, right? But so when my brother goes into power, right, and he's the minister of power, instead of me saying to my brother, and say, in fact, let me tell you how bad it is. I will say to my brother, if you finish 4 years in that office, right, and you do not at least attempt to solve the power problem, you will be banned from coming home. You will be, yes, you will literally be cast out. That's how serious it is, right? Because it's purpose. Remember that this isn't a joke.
yes.
That is a lifelong purpose, that you have been put here for such a time as this, right? So you were not, you being here is not a mistake. You've been called to something
Tell
higher.
me, what's the name of the former governor of Lagos State? Uh,
Fashola, Babatunde
Fashola,
Fashola. Yeah,
right? When he came,
yes.
when he was appointed a minister of what, right? He said,
It works, yeah.
yes, that before 4 years,
He'll
said
do
this,
it.
yeah. How 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 well is he doing?
Well, I think that he got into it with all the excitement and the willpower to be able to solve it, right? But he got into that muck and found out that, well, these are murky waters that you have to be careful with transversing. But because everybody has their personal agenda
Yeah,
and it's not about purpose, when a cause is not about people, it's about someone, it's already failed, right? If he walked in there saying there are millions, hundreds of millions of people who are depending on me to solve this problem so that their lives will be better, Fashola would rather die than leave that seat without fulfilling purpose. One of the greatest prayers I pray, Kene, is that when I die empty. And people say that a lot, and they say, oh, die empty, die empty. No. What I mean by die empty means that there is nothing in me that was left undone. That if I didn't die, I couldn't have been able to do anything more because I've done all that I could do. And so this is a mantra that I think a lot of people need to, swallow and keep regurgitating it and understand that if you have been sent somewhere or you've been given a role of service, regardless of whether you're an ISIS member, if you've been given a role to serve, right? It means that you have to serve people and not your personal agenda. And let me tell you why I had to go to the extreme of saying ISIS member. An ISIS member is a human being too. If that member was taken out of that situation and put in another situation and given the baton of service and say, serve in this capacity, he will forget his personal agenda of vendetta and choose the higher calling, which is to the service of humanity. The United States, what's that agreement? There's an agreement that they have that they call it
with who?
Like their constitution. They say we the United States, right?
Yeah, we the people.
Yes. They literally said that they hold themselves, right?
Yeah.
To the highest standard,
yeah.
right? Saying that, and that's what I'm saying, that we don't hold ourselves to that high standard, right? And that's why when I hear people say, oh, patriotic Nigerian, I don't think that patriotic Nigerian no reach to for Nigeria, right? Maybe it's me and one other person, right? Because I've been going around states doing state adoption, literally unpaid work. Left the business that paid me to go to states to tell them that get ready to build a legislative system, a structure that supports you getting investment in, right? Don't be dependent on any, build a structure that helps you build your own.
Yeah.
Let entrepreneurs be the ones that solve the greatest problems in your state. That way you're solving problems, but also still generating revenue.
Yeah.
I went round yesterday. I got back in by 2:30 a.m. Right, this morning. I got in this morning. My car blew top gasket. You overheated. I
Wow.
didn't know. I was in the middle of Kano. I don't know the place. I was in the middle of the bush. Okay, at 10 a.m. at 10 p.m. I want you to understand that this is a call to service to more than just yourself, right? And so when you tell me, I can tell you 10 different things infrastructurally that are wrong. But the bottom line is people need to talk with people.
I agree.
And people need to work with people.
Tracy, I agree absolutely. Okay, but like you said, we have a lot of work to do I don't want to use to convince. See, we need to show other people what is possible. Okay. See, for me, I talk to a lot of young Africans, and one of the things I think is holding the younger generation to adopt this purpose-driven life that you have adopted is that they have bought into victimhood. Okay. See, so instead of them to think about what can I do, what they talk about is that what is holding them back. And whenever they think about what is holding them back, they point fingers to other people. They never look at themselves and say, what am I doing that is not allowing me to move to the next level? Okay, they point fingers to other people. And once you continue pointing the finger outward, you will not move, because the person you're pointing fingers to is not going to come to you and say, yes, I agree. I am the one holding you back. I will stop holding you back. No, they won't do that. So once you don't take the responsibility on yourself, then you have a lot of struggle. to come out from that state. So yeah. So what other challenges do you see in what you are doing that is that needs to be solved to allow those things happen?
I mean, I think that more than anything, we need a change of mindset, right? And my boss will call it the gospel of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
A lot of great nations are thriving because they have empowered and sort of embodied the spirit of entrepreneurship. Go to countries like China, Japan, every household is producing something.
Yeah.
Every household has a startup that is maybe not using technology to disrupt, but it's producing something that the country is exporting, right?
Yeah.
And so this lets you understand that people, countries or nations or continents who want to do well in life understand that entrepreneurship, right, is the key. Because entrepreneurs, our belief is that entrepreneurs are the ones who are going to plug gaps, right?
Yeah.
By solving for non-consumption. They're creating products and services that are tackling some of the hardest problems. And they do that well because they are building a product. They're not just trying to be, they're not an NGO, right? That is trying to, they're building a product that would generate revenue.
Yeah.
So they put in a lot of money and time and resources towards researching and doing the groundwork.
Yeah.
So that at the end of the day, when they do produce, for example, a flutter wave, right? Flutter wave is big and huge. Why? Because they are solving
problems
for the underserved,
yeah.
right? Not just for the elite, for the underserved.
Yeah.
Right. For example, there was a cash trap problem in Nigeria during the election. Imagine, right, if a startup had like a solution where market women, all the unbanked people were able to still function, right?
Yeah.
Without having to, actually deal with cash. I wish I was a software developer. I had 2,000 ideas that I wanted to build. I wanted to build something that was just a quick checkout way that you have agents everywhere and someone comes and just buys pepper and scans your barcode. And when they scan your barcode and they buy, once they buy, it clicks. You receive a text saying but you see, the market woman doesn't need to receive text. All the person needs to do is buy pepper and go to that agent and pay. The agent needs to say, I've received the money, right? At the end of the day, the market woman goes to the agent and says, all my goods, I sold it. My goods were a total sum of 2,000. The agent hands them 2,000, right? Or hands them 1,900 and takes 100 naira for the service. That would have been massive because you know how many people are unbanked.
Yeah.
But you see, no, the government didn't solve that. The government just put that policy and walked away, right? Yeah. It is an entrepreneur that decided to start solving that problem, and they're doing that, right? And so what that is going to do, if ever there is another problem like that, there are a lot of solutions now that are going to tackle it, right? But these people will still be making money, creating jobs.
Yeah.
But why not do it with the government? That's where I am. Because you see,
government.
Because the government can wake up and say, you know what? We're not taking that. What happens? I need to understand that. The government can wake up and say, we don't trust that system of government. Shut it down.
Good.
What happens?
So what we need is to create laws that the government cannot do that. Okay.
Oh no, but you need to understand that the government will always exploit a loophole, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So what you need to do, what you need is what we did in the Nigerian Startup Act level, right?
Yeah.
Speak to someone. People speak to people. Back to that. We brought the government on board because you need to tell them they don't know. So bring them on board. And so the moment they understood that, oh, this was for the betterment of all of us, they gave their full support. So as much as we want to say, oh, the fabric of trust between the government and the people is torn, well, we have to find a way to stitch it because we need them. They need us, we need them, right? Stitch it, make it work. That's what I'm saying. Like, make it work. Whatever you need to do, stitch the fabric and add 2 more yards to it, okay? And let's move on. Because until there's a handshake between the government and the people, where there is that trust, right? That Nobody's trying to sabotage anybody, and everybody holds everybody accountable. Ergo, people speaking to people,
Yeah.
then nothing works.
Interesting. See, I like that mantra. People speak to people. I very much like that mantra. Wow. So, what are the biggest concerns? I know we've talked about infrastructure, power, uh, but what are your biggest concern about Africa's development in the 21st century?
Hmm. I think that Africa is too dependent on international organizations and hand me down,
Mm,
right? And that's why Africa hasn't moved. The moment Africa untangles this marriage, right, or gets herself away from this entanglement, don't get me wrong, international donor or international aid and donor funded money is good, but it's not the solution,
yeah,
right? And the reason why I say it's not the solution is that, I mean, in a family where a sister is always doing hand me down to her younger sisters and all that, right?
mm,
That doesn't solve the problem that we need to be able to have, uh, get clothes, new clothes for these children and all that. And so let's not just solve the symptoms and forget the root cause, right?
yeah.
Africa is poor because Africa wants to be poor. Africa has
Wow.
all that it needs to not be poor, but
See,
it is choosing.
what you said now. I know many people will be angry if they hear that.
Oh yes, oh yes. I think that a lot of people are angry, but you see, I need that anger because I want you to be angry enough to do something that is good, not just to be angry for nothing. Africa is poor because it's choosing to be poor. The moment Africa decides that it no longer wants to be poor, Africa will stand up for itself by first doing one thing: voting in people that can speak to people,
Okay.
right? Because when you vote a person who cannot be held accountable, you have started a long line of wrong mistakes that will lead to more wrong mistakes or wrong
Yeah.
decisions, right? Rather, right? So when we decide that we don't want to be poor, we sit down and say, okay, what can we do? We still bring in the experienced people from outside Africa and say, consultancy, let's pay you. Sit down and tell us all the ways that we can develop Africa, as consultants now, not as, in donor,
Hold on.
listen, not as donor
Yeah,
organizations who come to
I get
gather
that.
with us,
I get
right?
that. I want to say one thing. See, when we decide to to do that, we don't need to bring in so many so-called consultants because we have a massive amount of Africans in those spaces.
But the essence is that we haven't done it.
No, no, no.
Africans have
I
gone
agree. I
abroad
agree.
and have done it, right?
Yeah,
I'm saying, but Africans haven't come here and done it, right?
yeah.
So yeah, while we bring in expert Africans, I will still bring in some of these Japanese people, right? I
I
will
agree
still
too.
bring some of the
Yeah.
Chinese people who are loyal to the money and not to their organization or their country,
Yeah,
right? And so I pay you and you walk me through that process. What I
yeah.
like, Ekene, is track record. Show me a person who has a track record of doing good, and anywhere they go, they will do good.
I
And
agree.
so take those people support you, you build your own infrastructures, build your own resources, then tell the world, come by. We're open for business, right?
Yeah.
And that's
I
how
mean,
Africa will
that's
bring
what
itself from
the Middle
poverty.
East countries have done.
That's right.
Yeah. In fact, Japan itself, after the Second World War, American experts helped build Japan.
I'm just trying to tell you.
Yeah.
I like track record, right? I bring in the same people who build Dubai. Come talk to us, right? We want to rebuild Nigeria in 2 years. Come let us know what it's going to take, how much. We do a quid pro quo and they build, right? I remember I was having a funny conversation with my mother and I was saying, I wish truly they really sold us to China because China will come in here and treat us like a business and develop us, right? China won't come and work here, work in an undeveloped space. China will still come here and develop us, right? But what we would get out of that sale, right, would be that we would have a developed country. regardless of who becomes master. And
See,
so that's what we
see,
need to do.
you are pragmatic in your thinking, okay? And I love that, okay? Now, I'm not sure all those things will be beneficial, but your thought process will lead to things that are beneficial. See, what I have discovered for me, like I said, victimhood is the biggest thing holding us back. And because of that, many young Africans won't think the way you do. Okay? Because they see anybody from outside wanting actually to do something in Africa as an oppressor.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that, see, you are very pragmatic, okay? And
I hear you when you say that, oh, these things might not be beneficial. I see, trust me, they are beneficial. We need to act like a failed company, right? And declare bankruptcy and start afresh.
See, this you are saying things that I say, and I get beat on the head for saying this.
That's okay. But you see, at the tail end, I want to be the one who was on the other line that said it, rather than be on the person who didn't say anything. And then when it happens, I'm like, oh yes, I mean, I thought about it, but I didn't say it. I want to say it. I want people to remember that Tracy said it. And then at the end of the day, when it starts to work, because people have started to use their sense, and they say, oh, I remember, Tracy said it. I don't want to be on the sidelines. I want to be clear. I want everybody to be clear where I stand.
Yeah.
We need a reset button. We need a reset button. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not about who makes it to president or who makes it to whatever. It is, we need to start this whole conversation afresh.
I agree. I agree. We actually need to sit down and think about things, and to see, for me, it's important to discuss everything. No matter how it makes people feel.
Yeah. Okay? It's always the uncomfortable things.
No matter how uncomfortable they are, we need to discuss those things.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are so many things that people are uncomfortable to discuss, and until we discuss them, no matter how uncomfortable they are, we can't find any solution.
It's called the Stockholm syndrome, right?
Okay.
we love the people who abuse us.
Anyway, so what advice would you give young Africans to enable them do things to contribute to their society, no matter how small it is?
Stay hungry, right?
Okay.
Stay hungry. A hungry man is always going to find solutions to his hunger. Stay hungry. Continuously speak to people, right? When people speak to people, things get done, right? Always strive to, come from within. Start from the conversation of why. If you read Simon Sinek's book that says start with why, right?
Mm-hmm.
You understand that's why for me is the purpose. Why?
Yeah.
Why? You have to kind of keep asking why till you numb it down to the barest minimum. Why am I here?
My first daughter will be angry at you because I've used that with her. I asked why 9 times, and she struggled. She said something. Why?
No, let me tell you what's going to happen in the future. She's going to thank you because you see, before she walks into a room to pitch to investors, right? Before she walks into a room to pitch to investors, she has her 9 whys ready. So they say why, and she says why, and they say, let me tell you 8 other reasons why, and she blows them off the top of their seats. Why? Because she's fully prepared. She's saying why before she gets to the how and the when and where and who, right? And so, yes, I will ask young people to stay hungry and keep asking why. Why now? Why me? Why then? Why not me? Why not them? Right? Why do I need to do this? Why do I need to go through this to be able to get this? Right? Just keep pushing. Never give up. There's nothing like resignation in my book. There's nothing like quitting, right? You can take a break, you can take a pause and say, you know what? Let me breathe. But then when you breathe, you come back at this again, right? One thing that I always like to remind myself every time is the fact that fortune favors not just the brave, but the bold and the ones who are ready to take it. I read a book when I was 9. My father gave to me, I think it was Julius Caesar, where it says, there are, why am I forgetting it? It was talking about, it says there are tides in the affairs of men. If taken, leads unto fortune. Omitted, all the voyages of their lives are bound in shallows and miseries.
Yeah.
Meaning that there's a timing. You have to keep hitting. The moment you take on the current and then you start to sail, right? And so I'm going to tell the young people in Africa to keep hitting. I'm a young person and that's what I'm doing. Keep going at it. Nobody's going to believe you. Keep going at it. People are going to keep pushing you back. Keep going at it. People are going to be saying, naysayers. No, why are you doing this? Why not join the bandwagon? No, keep doing it. A day will come when everybody will see it and say, who do we want to? And they'll say, that guy or that lady. And you're like, why? Oh, because you're the only one who's been doing it.
Yeah.
That's why.
Wow. Powerful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, see, I'm a person who likes to read. Okay. And I want my audience to read. I tell them all the time. Okay. So can you recommend some books, 5 books for us to add to our library this year?
Okay. I think I'm gonna do one is Simon Sinek.
Okay.
Right?
Why? Yeah.
Start with why.
Start why, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to also say something like I'm currently reading this one. It's called The Underground Railroad, right?
Okay.
I'm also going to ask you to read The Power of the Word. That's by Barack Obama, right?
Okay.
It's a collection of speeches and writings and insights into his philosophy and vision.
I have 3 of his books in my library here.
Right, and that's how many?
That's 3.
Okay. Let me think. I'm trying to see one more book. Okay, I'm going to ask you to read. I'm sorry, you might not like it. The Bible, right?
Why not? See, I've read the Bible cover to cover at least 5 times in my days.
Read the Bible. Stay with the New Testament, right? The New Testament is Christ revealed, right?
Okay.
It's sort of there are a lot of types and shadows, right, in the Old Testament that the New Testament sort of reveals and speaks about. And then you can see yourself, but reading context and understand how you are not bound by the old things, the old conversations. You have the power to birth new things, right?
Okay.
And then I'm going to also say The Third Eye, Lobsang Rampa.
Okay. Good.
That's a great book. It's an old book, but it's a great book, right? But apart from books, I'm gonna give you one thing. Max Ehrmann, right? It's called Desiderata. It's like a full. Have you heard about the Desiderata?
No.
You would love it. You would love it. Max Ehrmann. It's spelled Erhman. Max Ehrmann.
Okay.
It's sort of like a mantra. It's not a Christian mantra, but it's a divine.
Don't worry, I do mantra.
yeah, with all the human fails, right? It literally starts the conversation saying, go placidly, right, amidst the noise and haste. And in whatever you choose to do, right, be at peace with God.
Good,
Whatever you perceive him to be at peace with God. That's what it says,
good,
right?
good,
And
good.
so it allows you to see yourself. It says something about you are as important as the trees and the breeze and the earth, right? You also have you have reason to be here as much as they do. So walk
See,
with that confidence, knowing
see,
that you are
Tracy,
as important.
Tracy, the longer I listen to you, the longer I love
The
you.
more you want to go. Thank
Okay.
you so much. Thank
Okay.
you so
So
much.
let's finish this with my final question.
Okay.
What's your vision for Africa in the next 20, 30 years?
Oh, I want an Africa that is purely driven by entrepreneurs. Africa that's built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. So, yeah, Africa that is built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. I want an Africa that is fully dependent on itself. An Africa that is producing technology solutions for the world. My boss, Oswald, would typically say that the next startup that is going to solve one of the world's greatest problems is going to start from our Nigerian village, right?
Okay.
And this is true because we are more, will I say, sort of situated a frame point in history where everybody's all eyes on Africa and Nigeria, right? And so this is an opportunity for us to sort of dig down and see that potential that God has given to us and the people, right, that God has put right here in Nigeria and equip them to be the ones who are the providers of the solutions of tomorrow. In fact, we don't want to be leaders in the continent. We want to be leaders in the universe, right? I'm saying that we want the universe to look at the map and say, thank God for Nigeria. That's the idea for me. So even though I'm saying that's my hope for Africa, I would like that Africa is driven by a Nigeria, right? That is spurring the trail, right? That is leading the pack of African nations that are technology solution providers, but also they're going to be impact creators.
Okay. Okay. See, I do agree absolutely that the future of Africa is tied to the progress of Nigeria as the most populous African country, with the most bold people. We need to help our continent explode. Tracy, thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Ekene.
Thank you very much for being a great guest of the Think Big for Africa.
You too. It's been a wonderful time.
Good, good, good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.